Скажіть, будь ласка, що робить голова обласної адміністрації вночі?
Ну, с тобой хочет увидеться. Другой возможности нет, как тебя увидеть, твое лицо. Радио Свободы. А что ты не спрашиваешь, как рейдерский захват в Ukrtansnafте произошел? И русские диверсанты сюда попали, а? Что ты об этом не спрашиваешь? Или тебя Коломойского, блядь, надо увидеть? Мы освобождали здание Ukrtansnafta от русских диверсантов, которых захватили. А ты со своей свободой сидишь тут, блядь, и караулишь, блядь. Как тёлка, блядь, своего неверного мужа.
Игорь Валерьевич, так что...
Ну что, ты заткнулся уже? Или про паспорта хочешь спросить?
And so, I mean, as you can see watching the video, there are a lot of profanities. It's not a behavior considered for a public official, but one thing we want to look at and is concerning are the broader issues here. It's the role of oligarchs in post-Maidan Ukraine, and in particular, looking at oligarchs who are so-called patriotic oligarchs. Ihor Kolomoisky has played, a large role financing different battalions. Ukraine today as the governor of Dnipropetrovsk region, but there are still questions, even for people and oligarchs with a lot of money who support the state, who are really there. Are there limits on which they should be able to use that influence to profit from it, even if these systems have been in place for a long time? And the question there, on the one hand, is does the Ukrainian state want to limit that? There's all sorts of pressures in terms of finance, on reality, on trying to create a new system and trying to show reforms that are tangible by people. But on the other hand, for oligarchs who have supported the state and have provided functions that the state hasn't been able to, there's a worry that, especially in an area like Dnipropetrovsk, which is close to Donetsk, that any sort of weakness or attempts to reform could, allow separatists to gain more influence, could allow Russia propaganda programs to come farther. And that's a very difficult question to approach at a time when the Ukrainian state finds itself both, in terms of pure guns outgunned, but also financially in finding support for programs, for refugee programs, for volunteer programs, for military programs.
That's a really tricky question, as you say. Very tricky question for the president, for the government in the first place, I'd say. And after this incident, of course, Ukraine and probably the whole world was waiting for some official reaction from the president, from the cabinet of ministers, from the government, to see how they react, not only, of course, to this kind of speech, which is obviously unacceptable, but also to this kind of move, yes, to this kind of an operation started in the office. So it took almost half a day till the president reacted with a reprimand, which is also a question whether it's a proper reaction, whether it's a proper reaction to what happened. And now, having all that, having that incident several days ago, even today we have some updates, right? We have some reports coming from the office of Ukrtansnafta this time, which almost half is owned by Privat Group, owned by Ihor Kolomoisky, which in this office happened almost the same story with people in camouflage, entering the office and barricading them from the inside. So even after a deal, yes, we had reports that Kolomoisky went to see the president, and he also went to see government officials, and they had a deal saying that four companies will check into the activity of Ukrtansnafta. So the question is, what was the deal about if this kind of thing happens today, right?
And I mean, the issue when we're looking at this, it's not entirely clear what's going on, but there's enough that's unclear to be concerned about. One other video we just want to show, this was outside the office of Ukrtansnafta while there were these people inside and, blocking access to it.
Они там остаются, почему они не выходят? Что они там будут делать? Они будут там ночевать, спать.
Финансовые документы сжечь.
Да? Ну а вы...
Вы шутите?
Слушайте, ну в нормальной стране...
All right, so I mean, that's just giving an indication there's some uncertainty, some questions, and questions about the directions things are going in. As is often the case in Ukraine, there's a lot that's unknown, but we want to keep an eye on it just to be aware of the direction things are moving in.